Let's talk Villa, and today we're going to be talking Emiliano Buendia. Missed the entirety of last season through an excruciating looking ACL injury, and now he is back and ready to fit into Unai Emery's plans. But does he, is the question that we're going to ask today. We're going to be consulting a new thing today, as you can see on the screen here. It's the Let's Talk Villa whiteboard. We're going to be breaking down Emi Buendia as a player, where he fits into the team now that he's missed an entire season of the Unai Emery Villa revolution, and where he could possibly be used best next season, in what role, how many minutes he's going to get, etc, etc. There will be a video on Tyrone Mings coming in the next coming days, so be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, turn notifications on for all of the latest and greatest Villa stuff on YouTube. Let's talk Emi Buendia. So firstly, it is always important to understand the type of player that we have on our hands in terms of Emilio Buendia. We go back to the 2022-2023 Premier League season, in which he played 38 games, getting 5 goals and 2 assists, if I can get the little Emi Buendia bit to go off of the screen. Now, they do have him listed here as a striker, which is something that's interesting we can come back to a little bit later on in the video. Possibly he could feature more there than he would at a right mid spot for Villa going forward, but does obviously have the number 10 shirt, and then we've already gone through the stats there, but decent-ish stats, an average rating of 6.82 in the season in which he played half under a certain man who shall not be named, and then half under, of course, Unai Emery. 5 goals, like we said there. This is his total stats for the season. 6.36 on the expected goals isn't actually too bad. 2 assists, but his actual expected assists was a lot better at 4.19, so Ollie Watkins, wow, you're not clinical that season, boy. 78.6 pass completion rate isn't that great, but then a 70% long ball rate, and he actually played 46 long balls. That must have come from the Stevie G era. 41 chances created as well. Successful dribbles weren't really fantastic for him in that season that he did play. 51% success ratio on those. But then defensively is where he does shine, possibly more than current right mid options. 23 tackles won, as you can see just below where my mouse is right now. Yeah, 45% success ratio, but that's fine. He's literally a striker slash winger. I'm not going to be too mad at that. 146 duels won, 23 aerial duels won, which is surprising considering on the pitch he looks about 5'5", and then green stats all around the park for everything else, including 24 times where he won possession in the final third. It is very, very good defensively for him. But then we consult the whiteboard again. Villa's set up last season, we either set up in a 4-4-2 with a double 6 pivot in the middle, or a 4-2-3-1. So where does he fit in? Obviously, clearly you could look at him as a right mid in both of these formations. These are just purely placeholder things as well. Don't look too deeply into the players that are mentioned in these videos, please. I know I've been getting some slack on it down in the comments down below. But he could also feature in the 4-4-2 as that second striker alongside Ollie Watkins. So that may offer him a bit more creative freedom, creative license, and a bit more of an into the team. If we move on to our right mids from last season, and it actually surprised me quite a bit. I mean, obviously Leon Bailey is up there with 20 appearances. This is purely Premier League. You'll notice that all of these add up to the magical 38. But yeah, only 20 appearances for Bailey. Felt like an ever-present, but obviously did miss a large chunk of the start of the season through injury. Only 4 appearances at right mid for Moussa Diaby. Played most of his season as a second striker. Obviously is now probably departing the club, so maybe Buendia is that natural cost-free replacement for him this season. 6 appearances for Matty Cash. John McGinn actually played 7 times at right mid for us, and then Yuri Tielemans even filled in there 1 time as well. So that was actually quite interesting to see. You know, John McGinn, the second most capped right mid for Villa last season, and he is a bit of a similar style to Emi Buendia. If we go over here, I kind of split our right mids into 2 styles. I didn't put Matty Cash in there because most of those appearances, to be fair, when we were playing 5 at the back and he was playing as a wing back, but we kind of had wingers in Bailey and Diaby, ones that hug the wing, are quick and look to get in behind, and then playmakers slash centre mids, almost playing out wide and inverting inwards and being sort of attacking midfielders from the flanks. So it was very interesting to see that they would split into those 2 positions, and you'd have to say Buendia definitely fits into the playmaker slash centre mid side of things, which again, maybe that doesn't bode completely well for him, the fact that we're losing a winger, but we might be replacing them with another one. We're going to get into that in a little bit of a minute. But let's look at Leon Bailey. His heat map is there on the right hand side of the screen. As you can see, he was our main right mid and he hugs the line. He likes to get in behind. This was EMI Buendia's heat map the season before we purchased him for Norwich. As you can see, yes, he does operate on the right quite a lot, but he also floats in and likes to operate between the semicircle of the centre of the pitch and the edge of the 18-yard box. Now, interestingly, we do also have his stats when he played for Villa compared to Leon Bailey's last season, and they show a very similar story. So as you can see on the screen there, that's both of their heat maps as well. And as you can see, Buendia's heat map was all over the bloody shop last time he played for Villa in the 22-23 season. Leon Bailey, that's the same heat map that you've already seen. So they are clearly very, very different styles of players. There's no absolute denying that. Leon Bailey clearly had the better season as well. You can see by the average SofaScore ratings as well. But Buendia, a completely different style of player. And this is just they're going through their stats. Obviously, Bailey had a much, much bigger season, so you can't really hold any of these stats against Buendia. Did play half of the season under Steven Gerrard as well, which is obviously going to impact slightly, shall we say, on how you may perform over the course of 38 games when 16 of them are kind of wasted with a manager who might or might not have been tactically inept. I am not too sure. But if we switch around Leon Bailey here for the argument's sake, new signing Jayden Philogene-Bedesh, you can see another out and out winger, only hugs the wing, doesn't really come inside too much. Yes, he does on the left hand side where he primarily operates, but you can see the disparity in the red bits of the heat map, which are their heated spots, the spots where they're in possession of the ball and on the pitch the most. And it paints a very, very clear picture that Buendia may not be the type of winger that Unai Emery wants, as we just scroll through some of their stats here and say that Jayden Philogene-Bedesh is actually probably a better defender in his own regards, especially on the ball as well. Maybe we are not looking for a Buendia type winger. Perhaps we're looking for something just a little bit different. If I go over to John McGinn here, just for argument's sake as well, you can see how similar it is. So with all of that taken into consideration, where do I think EMI Buendia fits in and how many minutes do I think he gets for Villa next season? Now, firstly, I don't believe he is going to be a starter for Villa next season. I think there are simply other players that have taken their opportunity and ran with it, i.e. Leon Bailey, who is going to be almost irreplaceable for us at right mid, and we're going to be hoping that he doesn't get injured. We've also brought in premier young talent since Buendia has left, the likes of Morgan Rogers, who I think will occupy that second striker role more than he will left mid next season, perhaps if even to accommodate captain John McGinn. I think he's above Buendia. Jayden Philogene-Bedesh, I think, is above Buendia in terms of being a winger in this formation as well. I don't see him being brought in as one of the pivots that we seem to be playing as. We've got Barkley, Berentia, Onana, Tielemans, McGinn even in that, Kamara. I don't see Buendia being given the nod to run the midfield and be a midfield general over any of those. I think if John Duran does depart the club, if we don't maybe sign another left mid, maybe we'll try and push Buendia out onto the left-hand side of the pitch. But otherwise, I could see him being a bit of an impact sub, a bit of a super sub, someone who we can bring on to control the game. He is very, very tenacious when he does play. He's nipping at people's feet all the time, regularly picking up yellow cards, to be fair to him. He's like a little Yorkshire Terrier in the midfield. But again, I just see him being, perhaps being brought on as a different option when Bailey and Philogene, etc., when the likes of those direct wingers perhaps aren't working out wide and we want to control the midfield a little bit more. Perhaps, again, you've seen by his heat map, we look to someone who's all over the place and likes to drift in field and pick up the ball and is very, very good on the ball, and his passing range is absolutely fantastic. There's no doubts about that whatsoever. But I just don't really see him being a starter. I could see him perhaps getting 10 to 12 starts in the Premier League, the rest of his appearances being from the subs bench. I could very, very, very much see him being a cup player in terms of the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, not the Champions League. But he might come back and surprise us. Sometimes players come back from these injuries and they really show you what you are missing. He's a fantastic player, there's no doubt about that. I really, really rate him. I hope he does come back and hit the ground running, but I just don't think it's going to be in a starting capacity. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, up the Villa, we'll be talking about Mings next, so stick around for that one.